Welcome back to the CTO Dose at VMworld 2019. You're in for a treat. This is a non-sponsored video with Dell Technologies. I have returning guest and a new guest, Nick Brackney, Director of Product at Dell Technologies. And then Varun Chabra, who we had on earlier this week, Vice President of Product Marketing for Dell Technologies.
Thank you.
Guys, we're going to go right after it. It's been a busy VMworld 2019.
Tons of news.
Tons of news. We had Todd Tolles on a few months ago from Dell Technologies World. Dell made a big splash with the Dell services, or Dell Cloud services, specifically around storage. So I wanted to kind of peel back the onion a little bit on that and kind of ask you guys some industry-wide questions and trends that you've seen. First off, what's been the reaction to Dell kind of entering this level of services for cloud storage?
You know, Kit, we had a lot of announcements at Dell Technologies World. The cloud storage was one of them, and then Dell Technologies Cloud as a whole, providing really that consistent operating system or consistent operating environment for clouds across public, private, and the edge. And really the response has been off the charts. We've just heard from customers so much that what they are seeing in their environments is cloud proliferation, right? Whether it's a result of merger and acquisitions, in regulatory environments, in line of business / shadow IT, or just unique vendor services. Basically, different applications are being spun up in different cloud environments. And for no fault of anybody's, it ends up being you have 5 or 6 cloud environments where you're running workloads. In fact, our research tells us that I think 93% of customers have workloads running on 2 or more clouds, and in fact, a majority of customers have workloads running in 5 or more clouds. So with all of that comes complexity. Different management and operating tools. How do you migrate virtual machines from? You have to convert virtual machines, and you're migrating them. Your tool sets are different. Networking policies are different, security policies are different. It's just a complex world out there. And that's really what we're trying to do with the Dell Technologies Cloud, right? Bringing together the best of VMware and the best of Dell Technologies infrastructure to give that consistent experience. And I mean, I think this week what we saw was just building on that partnership more and more and bringing on more capabilities for customers.
So since we're at VMworld 2019, and there was a lot of activity on the stage, some of my peers didn't appreciate the executive level conversations that were had. Sanjay, you need to kind of watch it, buddy. You're edging into the CTO dose field with these on stage conversations with executives. But he had an on stage conversation with one of the customers, the Gap.
Yep.
And the Gap noted that 95% of their applications are not containers. That doesn't really tell me much about the hybridity or the multi-cloud story that you just laid out. But it does tell me that traditional enterprises are not moving at the pace that we're reading in the Silicon Valley Times, or if there's a Silicon Valley Times, or what my good friend likes to call the cloud-a-ride. What are you guys seeing from on the ground when it comes to having conversations with customers about managing multiple clouds or hybrid cloud?
Yeah, I think with customers, when I've talked with customers, what we find is that they haven't made those investments yet, and they're looking for a way to bring that cloud experience into their data center, and they also want to be able to move more rapidly to the cloud. So on both sides, they're kind of struggling, and it's been one of the reasons why what we've built right now is really resonating with customers, because they're used to VMware. They know how to use VMware. If they can take those same skills and now they can apply them to the cloud, that's going to make both sides of the coin work. So
is this a push or pull relationship? Are you guys pushing your customers, or are they pulling you to add these services?
As we talk with them, this is just a natural evolution, right? They made those investments in NSX, vSAN, vSphere, and they said, we want that same experience. And so they're telling us, you guys need to go and build a product around that. And we've linked up the Dell EMC infrastructure with that. All the investments with VxRail and the joint the joint work that VMware and Dell EMC have done is really in response to that. But now, as we go to talk to them, they're excited. They're banging on the door and they want to hear more about this.
So as we were talking about banging on the door, one of the things I was critical of Dell EMC at maybe 2 Dell Tech Worlds ago was the absence of a Dell Cloud strategy, absent of VMware. You guys are all in on the VMware relationship. When there's customers that's resistant to the VMware message, what's the alternative? You're still Dell. Dell's an independent company, owns VMware, and customers have relationships outside of VMware. What's the conversation?
Look, Keith, we've all been in IT long enough to know that there's no one size fits all.
Right.
No matter what a vendor says. So at Dell Technologies, we really take that to heart. Yes, the Dell Technologies cloud solutions are very joint or VMware centric, and we think our opinion, for our customers is that is the right way to go to get that consistent experience. But we also recognize, as you said, there are some customers who don't want to go down that path, right? They have investments in OpenStack, could be looking at Kubernetes and or Anthos specifically. We want to support them there, right? So we have customers who ask us about Azure Stack. We have an offer jointly with Microsoft for Azure Stack. We have an offer for jointly with Google for Anthos. And we certainly support customers there, but we do think that what we're doing with VMware, that really tight integration and that consistent experience is going to help customers unlock the promise of multi-cloud in the long term.
So you said it first, and unfortunately we drank all of the drink on the list, CTO dose. So Kubernetes, drink. Is Kubernetes a focus of Dell Technologies, or is it kind of, this is a must-have add-on, and the focus is some other control plane? And I see the movement of Pivotal inside of VMware. Pivotal was heavily on Cloud Foundry as the abstraction, and containers was the underlay. What's the relationship for Kubernetes in the Dell Technologies world, specifically around Dell EMC?
Look, I think my perspective is that the world, there's more and more customers that are asking us about how to support Kubernetes. They're looking at building apps and containers. So they want support for Kubernetes environments that are easy to deploy, because that's not always a given in the ecosystem today. And then they should be able to scale and be production ready. So a lot of the announcements we've made at VMworld this year are around, for example, supporting automated deployment of PKS on top of VxRail using VMware Cloud Foundation. There's tight work that's being done between the 3 companies to do that. That being said, again, it's not, just like we were talking about in the previous question, I don't think it's a one-size-fits-all solution. I think we continue to see a lot of interest in virtual machines. And let's face it, a lot of traditional workloads that are running on virtual machines, they may never get moved to containers.
Right.
The important thing from our perspective is, as a technology vendor, you have to be able to support customers wherever they are. So if customers are asking for Kubernetes, we want to support them. And if customers are asking for traditional applications, we want to support them. And thankfully, because of the innovations that you saw this year at VMworld, you've seen with VMware over the last few years, they are very, very committed to supporting both of them on the same platform. And we saw it with Pacific, vSphere, running and managing containers. It doesn't get a lot better than that.
Well, and I think one of the things that's really important here is it's not just technology, right? It's your people and processes. And like you said with Gap, they're early in that move. And so we have to provide the path that allows them to get to a point where they can consume containers and build it into their business, because right now they may not be ready for that.
So let's go down that route for the last set of questions. I've been in organizations, or worked around organizations where wholesale, the cloud native team that was working at one company, one Fortune 500, 200 company, is now at another one because the talent just isn't there to support the need. Community is a big part of that. What is Dell and Dell Technologies doing to kind of help us from an IT executive perspective increase the talent pool? As I have my guys running as fast as they can, keeping the lights on with current technologies, I got to keep my team in the pipeline moving from a capabilities perspective to support the new stuff. How can Dell help you with that?
So I think we have a really broad ecosystem, and not just partners. We have a ton of partners that can really help organizations, but then also the users. VMUG user groups are really important. There's a lot of people that go to those to learn those skills. And now you're able to, with Project Pacific that we're talking about here, you're able to take some of that knowledge and apply it back to the world of containers. And on top of that, like we were doing with VCF and the investment we've made there with Dell Technologies Cloud, we're also bringing that to the cloud world as well. And with Dell EMC, we're also investing there. With building partners and delivering the training, and then automating a lot of these things to make it easier for organizations.
Yeah, I mean, to just build on what Nick said, he's spot on. If you look at the common or the regular deployment experience for containers today, is a lot of scripting, command line, running things, testing things. What you've seen here today or this week at VMworld is really, hey, these are the tools you're using today. As the VMware has such an amazing community, just such a vibrant community of users. So many people who've trained up and understand the tool sets, whether it's vSphere or vRealize or other components of the VMware Cloud Foundation. What better way for us to help upskill them than to use those tools, the same tools and the interfaces they're familiar with, and help take those into the direction of containers, right? That way, you don't have to abandon what you're doing before. You don't have to learn a brand new thing. You also help organizations keep those resources skilled up. Then you're also reducing a little bit of risk for your organization because of you're using the same technology.
Yeah, a lot of people like to compare Kubernetes, especially around the resource constraints around talent, to OpenStack. One of the problems with OpenStack and why it collapsed, at least in the broader audience, was due to the lack of talent and sustainability. It just took a lot of resources to use.
Let me just take that in a different direction. So we were talking about this yesterday. If we rewind back to 15 years, when virtualization is just coming new, right, Keith? You were right there. Just think back to what the community was then, and I bet the same thing that you're seeing with cloud native today was happening back then as well, because it was such a valuable resource where teams would just get lifted and go to another team. Now we have the advantage with what's happening with VMware's investments in Kubernetes is that you have a much larger base, whether it's vMugs or just the VMware user base in general, and then you're upskilling them, right? So I think you'll see some of the same dynamics, but we think this is a great place to start from.
Well, guys, I really appreciate you guys taking out the time, getting on the hot seat a little bit. For it's not a one-size-fits-all world. One vendor can't drive the complete conversation. There has to be partnerships, co-opetition, and I appreciate you guys taking time to have real conversations.
Thanks for having us here.
That's it for this episode of the CTO Dose. You can join the conversation. You want to learn more about this topic, or you just want to engage in this topic, follow the hashtag CTO Dose. Talk to you next episode.